March 22 brings a shift from internal understanding into steady, controlled movement. After yesterday's deeper awareness and psychological clarity, today introduces the opportunity to act, but in a very different way than earlier in the month. Mars forms a supportive connection with Saturn, creating an atmosphere where action becomes more focused, more disciplined, and more intentional. This is not impulsive energy. Mars on its own tends to move quickly, driven by instinct and urgency. But when it connects harmoniously with Saturn, that movement becomes structured. Instead of reacting immediately, you may feel more inclined to act carefully, with awareness of long-term consequences. This can feel stabilizing. You may notice that your energy feels more grounded. Instead of being pulled in multiple directions, your attention may settle on what actually needs to be done. Tasks that require patience or consistency may feel more manageable today. There is a sense of controlled effort. You may feel motivated but not rushed. You may feel capable of making progress but without needing immediate results. This combination allows you to approach challenges with a steady mindset rather than emotional intensity. At the same time, this influence supports responsibility. Something you have recently understood or initiated may now require follow-through. The insights from earlier in the week are no longer just ideas. They begin to take form through consistent action. This can apply to many areas of life. A decision may lead to a practical step. A realization may lead to a change in behavior. A conversation may lead to a commitment that requires effort to maintain. The key dynamic today is disciplined action, not just doing something, but doing it in a way that can be sustained. Because progress is not always created through sudden bursts of energy. Sometimes it is built through steady movement that continues long after the initial motivation appears. To understand the deeper psychology of March 22nd, we need to look at what happens when Mars, the force of action, aligns with Saturn, the force of structure. Mars represents movement. It is the part of you that initiates, that takes risks, that pushes forward when something feels important. It is instinctive, fast, and often driven by immediate desire. Saturn operates in the opposite way. Saturn slows things down. It evaluates, measures, and builds. It is concerned with long-term outcomes rather than short-term impulses. Where Mars wants to act now, Saturn asks whether that action can be sustained over time. When these two forces work against each other, frustration can occur. But when they work together, as they do today, something very different happens. Action becomes controlled. Instead of reacting impulsively, you may feel a natural ability to pause, consider, and then move forward with intention. The energy is still present, but it is directed rather than scattered. Psychologically, this creates a state of disciplined motivation. You may notice that you are less interested in quick results and more focused on meaningful progress. Tasks that require patience may feel more approachable. Challenges that once felt overwhelming may now appear manageable because you are not trying to solve everything at once. This is where resilience develops. Mars provides the drive to begin. Saturn provides the endurance to continue. Together, they create the ability to follow through even when the initial excitement fades. Another important psychological effect of this alignment is emotional regulation. Mars can intensify reactions, especially when something feels urgent or important. Saturn introduces control. It allows you to respond rather than react. This does not mean suppressing emotion, but rather choosing how that energy is expressed. You may find that you are able to handle situations more calmly today. Even if something requires effort or discipline, it may not feel overwhelming. Instead, it may feel like something you can approach step by step. This is also a moment where commitment becomes clearer. You may recognize what you are willing to invest your time and energy into. Saturn asks for consistency, and Mars provides the energy to meet that demand. Together, they highlight where your actions align with your long-term direction. The deeper lesson of this transit is strength through consistency. Not the kind of strength that appears in a single moment of effort, but the kind that develops through repeated, intentional action over time. Because real progress is not created by how fast you move. It is created by how steadily you continue. On a practical level, March 22 may feel steady, focused, and quietly productive. You might notice that your energy is not scattered like it can be on other days. Instead of jumping between ideas or reacting quickly, your attention may settle on what actually needs to be done. There is less urgency to chase everything and more clarity about what deserves your effort. This can show up as a natural sense of prioritization. You may feel drawn toward tasks that have real value, even if they require patience. Things that once felt difficult to start may now feel more manageable because you're not trying to do everything at once. Instead, you may approach things step by step. Another pattern that may appear today is increased discipline in small actions. You might follow through on something you previously delayed. You might complete a task that required consistency rather than motivation. Even simple actions may feel more meaningful because they contribute to a larger direction. This is where Mars-Saturn energy becomes practical. It supports doing what needs to be done without overcomplicating it. You may also notice that your reactions feel more controlled. Situations that might have triggered immediate responses earlier in the week may now feel easier to handle calmly. You might pause before responding, consider your words more carefully, or choose a more measured approach. This does not reduce your energy, it refines it. Another subtle shift today is the relationship between effort and reward. You may become more aware that progress does not always feel exciting in the moment. Sometimes it feels neutral, even repetitive. But there can also be a quiet satisfaction in knowing that what you are doing is moving you forward in a real and sustainable way. This awareness can change how you experience effort. Instead of seeking immediate results, you may feel more comfortable investing in actions that will pay off over time. At the same time, it is important not to become overly rigid. Saturn can sometimes create the feeling that everything must be controlled or perfect. The key is balance. Discipline should support progress, not restrict it. The most helpful approach today is steady movement. Focus on what matters. Take action where it counts, and allow progress to build gradually. Because today is not about intensity, it is about consistency. Now bring this steady, disciplined energy into your own experience, sign by sign. Today is not about dramatic change. It is about what you are willing to build consistently, even when no one is watching. If you're an Aries, this is a moment to refine your impulse into direction. You may feel the urge to act, but today asks you to act with intention. Something you started recently now requires consistency. Growth for you lies in proving to yourself that you can sustain effort, not just initiate it. If you're a Taurus, this energy supports building stability in a very real way. You may feel drawn towards strengthening something that matters to you, whether it's financial, emotional, or practical. Growth comes from committing to small actions that reinforce long-term security rather than waiting for big results. If you're a Gemini, your thoughts may become more structured today. Instead of jumping between ideas, you may feel the need to organize them into something usable. Growth lies in turning insight into application, choosing one direction and giving it your full attention. If you're a Cancer, emotional strength becomes practical today. You may recognize where you need to create boundaries or consistency within your personal life. Growth comes from supporting your own emotional needs through action, not just awareness. If you're a Leo, your energy may focus on how you express yourself in a consistent way. Creativity or personal goals may require discipline rather than bursts of inspiration. Growth lies in showing up regularly, even when motivation feels quiet. If you're a Virgo, this energy may feel natural but deeper than usual. You may recognize where your routines are either supporting or limiting you. Growth comes from refining your habits so they align with your long-term direction, not just immediate productivity.
If you're a Libra, relationships may require steady effort today. You may see clearly what a connection needs in order to remain balanced. Growth lies in contributing consistently rather than expecting harmony to maintain itself. If you're a Scorpio, your focus may turn toward control of your own energy. You may realize where you have been investing effort without clear return. Growth comes from directing your intensity toward what truly matters rather than spreading it too thin. If you're a Sagittarius, this energy may feel slower than you prefer, but it carries value. You may be asked to commit to something that develops over time rather than immediately. Growth lies in recognizing that long-term expansion requires steady groundwork. If you're a Capricorn, this is an alignment you understand well. You may feel more grounded, more capable, and more clear about what needs to be done. Growth comes from continuing forward without overburdening yourself with unnecessary pressure. If you're an Aquarius, your ideas may begin taking form. Something that existed as a concept may now require practical steps. Growth lies in bridging the gap between vision and reality through consistent effort. And if you're a Pisces, this energy may help you ground something that previously felt abstract. You may feel more capable of turning an idea or feeling into something real. Growth comes from trusting that structure does not limit you, it supports you.
As we close March 22, notice the quiet strength of steady movement. Earlier in the week, much of your energy may have been focused on understanding, shifting perspective, and beginning something new. Those moments often carry intensity. They feel important, sometimes even overwhelming, because they introduce change. Today feels different. It is not about sudden realization or dramatic action. It is about what you do after those moments pass. You may have noticed that your energy today was more focused, more controlled, more deliberate. Not necessarily exciting, but reliable. The kind of energy that allows you to follow through rather than start over. This is where real progress begins, not in the moment of inspiration, but in the moments that follow when you choose to continue. You might reflect on something simple tonight. What did I give consistent effort to today? Where did I choose discipline over impulse? And what could I continue building if I approached it the same way tomorrow? These questions are not about perfection, they are about direction. Because growth is not defined by how intensely you begin, it is defined by how steadily you continue. And when your actions become consistent, even small steps begin to create something solid, something lasting. That is the kind of progress that does not fade, it builds.